Welcome in, sorcerers. This morning, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at this Gothic Precon box. Now, if you are new to sorcery, we're going to go through this one a little bit slower. I think people who probably look for what a Precon product involves, maybe newer players. So I'll take my time with this one. We'll kind of go through each of the 4 decks that are inside of this box and just kind of talk about the game of sorcery in general. If you're new to the game, or if you come from another game, it's a wonderful game. Actually, I love sorcery. The gameplay is amazing. The art is great, and I think the company behind it, Eric's Curiosa, is really solid. So I hope that you join us here in the realm. So we're going to get 4 decks in this precon. We're going to get Harbinger, Savior, Necromancer, Persecutor. We've already opened a box on this channel, so you can take a look at that. So we pull these out. Some people ask, can you fit cards in here with sleeves? Because they're gonna give you the amount of cards that you get in each deck is, they say on the back. So they get 1 Avatar, if you can see that, 16 Atlas, and 36 Spellbook cards. So this will be a 40 or 52 card deck, 53, I guess, with the Avatar, although he starts on the battlefield. And they kind of give you some hits of what's on the inside, some feel. They even give a little sentence: punish the wicked as Persecutor, usher in a dark era as Harbinger, deliver us from evil as Savior, and finally, raise an undead army as Necromancer. And then they give you a learn to play booklet with your precon. Now, if you get the beta precons, which are the 4 elements kind of embodied, fire, earth, air, water, then you do get a pack of beta in addition on top. It's always fun to get a precon and then have a random pack and then try to upgrade if you're a newer player. But I will say that these decks are probably more powerful, and there is a bonus here. The bonus being, and you can kind of see it in the arts right here, is that these avatars that are all featured in the main set, and you can pull them, but the difference being that, for instance, I am building a Harbinger deck here. This is Harbinger, I believe. Yeah. So the difference being that in the main set, Harbinger looks like this. This is the art for Harbinger. However, when we pop this open right now, what you're going to see is that it's a completely different art. So the art for these cards, I think, is all done by, if I can just kind of guess at the style, one of my more favorite artists in all of sorcery, Dan Seagrave, who has like a real otherworldly, sort of organic feeling to him. If you're a fan of magic art, Mark Tadine comes to mind, but maybe like a darker version. Yeah, and so what we're looking at here is art by Dan Seagrave. And so each of these are going to be unique arts. They're not going to be featured in any Gothic box. You're not going to be able to pull them. And so depending, how much of a value that is to you, I don't know if it's valuable in the secondary market, but this is the only way really to get these arts for these. And they're all pretty cool. Like the Necromancer art is the actual Necromancer art is an acquired taste for some people, for me included. So this one might be the darker version you want to go for. But anyways, yeah, let's jump in. So Harbinger, what does it do? Harbinger is really cool. It's a cool avatar. That's why I'm building it. This will show it has 20 life up here. That's where you start at in sorcery. This avatar has 1 power and toughness. Sometimes people forget their avatar can attack and sort of defend, but it can. Your avatar has triple access to success. Tap, player, draw a site. Every avatar has that ability. So you start the game, you're going to have to play your lands sort of manually using your avatar. Or if you don't need to play a new land, you can just draw an additional to get a little bit of card advantage. And then they almost always have a second ability, sometimes static, sometimes an active ability, meaning that you would have to tap it or do something with it. But on setup, which is the very beginning of the game, determine 3 random squares. Now in sorcery, there's a 20 by there's just a 20 block grid, 4 by 5. So what they mean by determining 3 random squares is that there'll be 5 columns and 4 rows, east to west. And so there'll be numbers often on playmats. Now, if your playmat doesn't have numbers, there's an easy fix. You can either choose where 1 starts and 20 ends and roll a d20, or then you'd have to manually count, or you could do like I've done before, and since there are only 4 rows, roll a d4, and then when you do that, you have 5 on each row, and then you roll a d10, divide by 2, and then you get, the exact number of like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, where on setup, determine 3 random squares. Once on your turn, you can cast a minion to one of them for, I'm going to take my glasses off because I'm getting old, for 1 less. So, wow, it's so much better. I don't want to get bifocals. I don't want to be that old, but I am that old. So, yeah. So let's see what they put in this Harbinger deck. So they have 2 elements, I think, in each deck, which is a change from the first setup. So we've got air elements. We have Willing Tribute, no ordinary offering, 1 mortal soul. So this is a mortal. That's important to note. And it is an ordinary card. The capital words, capital letters are like always important to pay attention to as far as card types, card rarities, and there may be some other factors there that play in why you want to pay attention. Sacrifice, untap an adjacent evil ally. And sometimes you can get sacrifice effects, like if a creature dies, it deals 1 damage, very similar to aristocrat strategies in Magic. So this could be a card that's used for something like that. 10-ton slug, huge, 7 power and toughness, 7 to summon, and you have to have 2 water threshold to do so. This isn't in addition, so it's not 7 plus 2 water like you would think in Magic. This isn't like 7 colorless. This is just total cost. And of that total cost, you have to have 2 water threshold to do that, which means you have to have 2 water sites typically, or 1 site that produces 2 water threshold if it's a really powerful one. No hope subsists neath this ordinary monster. So we've got a couple big beaters. We've got a really big beater. This is a unique monster, so this is the ultra rare. In Sorcery, you can only run 4 ordinary, 3 exceptionals, 2 elites, and 1 unique. So this is the only thing that we're going to find in here that is a Yogg-Sothoth. You have to have 4 water threshold, so very tough mana cost, but it is 10 power and toughness, occupies all locations safely, is banished without 5 voids, ignores the abilities of sites. Very powerful creature, kind of exists in your whole realm, which is very flavorful but maybe hard to imagine. And what that allows him to do is basically just attack anywhere, exist anywhere, defend anywhere. He's all-seeing, all-knowing. The Lovecraftian god of knowledge, I believe, Yogg-Sothoth. Sort of like often seen as like a set of bubbling eyes. If you've played Skyrim, there's a very Yogg-Sothoth-esque creature in one of the expansions. Falling Star, an elite aura, and supernatural supernal portent. Last 3 of your turns, when the star falls, you may summon a minion from your hand atop an affected site. It strikes each other unit where it lands. So strike is like first strike. In Magic, it's going to deal damage, but not receive damage. So very cool. This whole deck is sort of like, it's called Harbinger, so it's got a flavorful aspect of like, it's the end times. This deck is very much centered on like, we are looking at the Lovecraftian end times. A Shoggoth, 6 mana, 5 power, submerge, and voidwalk. So in Sorcery, one of the coolest things in the world is that you have a 3-dimensional element to your battlefield. Submerge, this is a water site. So submerge means that it can be played underneath a water site, or it can like use an action to submerge to go underwater, and that's a place where it can't be hit by most things. It can rise from the depths of the water to sort of take out an attacking minion from the other side, and then maybe submerge on the following turn. So very flavorful. Don't want to mess with that thing. I'm super excited to get these because I'm building a Voidwalk deck. Aj Kagan Ghost Crab, 0 power, but has +1 power for each void in their row being the side-to-side. So I'm going to use these for multiplayer, which is an option we do have in Sorcery. It's sort of a home-brewed version of the game. It's typically 1v1, but I just got a mat for multiplayer, which is amazing. So that's going to make the amount of voids in a row much higher, because that mat is 7x7 grid versus a 4x5 grid, which is really cool. Forsaken Voidwalk must be cast to an outer column. So you see the rows and columns mentioned again. It's important in Sorcery we pay attention to the battlefield. It's one of the really unique things about the game that I love. That gives the battlefield a flavorful and tactical sense rather than Magic's battlefield, which is just a place to hold stuff. There's no real detriment or reason to put things in certain areas on the battlefield other than your own sanity and your opponent's sanity, maybe, of like just trying to keep track. But in Sorcery, it matters. Sea Witch, beautiful art. Haida Talifer is one of my faves. She did a couple arts in here. I think one for Lure is another good one. Just pops. Spellcaster means that this minion can also cast spells. Sometimes spells emanate from a spellcaster, and that's important to remember because sometimes they only go like 3 grid spaces or something like that. So this Sea Witch can actually cast spells for you rather than your avatar having to do it or be close enough to an enemy to cast some powerful spell. For sometimes they'll get new artists for the set releases, and for Gothic, it was no different. The artist they got for Gothic was Braum. Braum is incredible. Braum is an older artist. Sorry, Braum, but an older artist who really embodies sort of like the action, mid-action pose. Just stark backgrounds, but the main figures are always engaged in just this frenetic energy, and reminds me of Frank Frazetta, and maybe you too. Mesmer Demon, 3 power, 3 summoning. Genesis. Genesis is the ETB ability, enter the battlefield ability of Sorcery. Tap target adjacent enemy and make it step closer. Really powerful. You're basically charming another minion, luring it towards you for whatever your devices are, whatever you're trying to do. Speaking of Lovecraftian horror, Nomo Monster. This horrific thing, it's 3 power, Submerge, and Voidwalk. An exceptional monster soars alien seas. There are some rumors out there that Sorcery might be going to other fantastical worlds in the future, and Nomo Monster is one of the reasons why people maybe think that there are hints in this set. Slimy Mutants, 5 summoning, 4 power, Submerge, pay 3, transform an ally with Submerge into Slimy Mutants from your hand. So you could literally do this, like put a little 1 power guy on the battlefield, pay 3, and then you'll wind up paying less, but you also have a surprising sort of like upgrade to your creature as the Slimy Mutants pops out of the body of whatever you sacrificed. Bound Spirit, an ordinary spirit tied to its master, disabled unless adjacent to an ally spellcaster. So it's a spirit that travels with the spellcaster. It's interesting. Not sure if it's really good, because if they kill your spellcaster, your spirit's just kind of wandering the existence, which is neat, but not necessarily powerful. Dormant Monstrosity. 6 power, Voidwalk, must be cast to a corner void, costing 2 less for each unit in an adjacent square. So this is pretty cool. The flavor of this is off the charts. Imagine an expedition team slowly traveling towards the edges of the realm. And then when they get to the edge of the realm, this very empty space that they haven't charted yet, you play Dormant Monstrosity. So it was sort of like an end of the world voyage, and then they find this thing, which is sort of like the Cthulhu of Sorcery. I freaking love that. Great flavor. Bound Spirit, we already went over. Frozen Horror, awesome. Stealth. Stealth means it can't be targeted or kind of interacted with until it breaks stealth. And when this thing breaks stealth, you can do it anytime. Disable another nearby minion, other nearby minions until your next turn. So really powerful. Just spooks them. Look at its scary face. Woo! Lacuna Entity, an elite monster, an escapable invitation. Submerge and Voidwalk. Genesis, drag target weaker minion from an adjacent site to here, ignoring regions, so it can pull it through the void even, which is going to be a terrifying journey for whoever gets summoned. Art, Regurgitator. Lindsay Crummett, good job. An elite monster chucks unsettling ordnance, which the ordnance is bodies. At the end of your turn, Regurgitator must either fill its empty belly by banishing a dead minion, or empty its full belly by shooting a projectile that deals damage equal to the eaten minion's power. Fascinating. It's just a body cannon. Harkening Kraken, an exceptional monster, all arms and ears, must be cast submerged and costs 1 less for each enemy in its body of water. So reduced cost based on like how full the water is. Fascinating. Gnarled Wendigo is a great card with another reduction cost. Usually costs 6, but this costs 2 less for each minion you sacrifice at its summoning location. So really powerful. This thing could be free to play. Gift of the Frog. Summon a frog token to an allied minion, which you saw earlier, the frog token, and you draw a spell. Give him a little friend, a little companion. Ice Shards. We have some sort of direct damage spells. Shoot 3 projectiles, 1 at a time. Each deals 1 damage but melts before the 3rd step. And so it's fascinating. You're going to have to kind of get used to the idea of like the grid and the battlefield matters if you're new to the game. But if you're shooting 3 projectiles go in a straight line, and they will basically hit everything that is along that line until, say, Ice Shards runs out. Each deals 1 damage but melts before the 3rd step. So sort of like peppers these snowballs out, and the snowballs will melt before they go too far, just kind of punking out the creatures right before. Monster Morphosis. Exceptional magic of Vile Evolution. This is a really flavorful card as well. So imagine Alien, right? There's an incubation period where the face sucker goes on, not to be too graphic if you don't like horror movies, but Gothic may not be for you if you don't like horror movies. Disable target minion until your next turn. So Monster Morphosis disables the minion. It's infected it, and at the start of that turn, you may transform that creature into a monster from your hand. So monster could be, there's probably some monsters in here. I think the Yogg-Sothoth. Oh, here we go. Let's say we want to transform it into a Gnarled Wendigo. That's a monster. It's capitalized. You transform it into a monster from your hand or a Horrible Hybrids from your collection, which is the 3/3. It's just a flavor. You take a turn off basically to turn a minion into something bigger is the hope. Pretty powerful. Swap the target location of a minion or artifact with another minion or artifact, and it doesn't determine whether it's yours or theirs. So it's going to be a really powerful spell to kind of adjust the battlefield. Abyssal Assault. For each point of its power, an allied monster may deal 1 damage to a unit in a square near it. So this is just a kill spell of like you had a Yogg-Sothoth or something on the board. It has 10 power. Well, this will deal for each point. An allied monster may deal 1 damage, so it could deal 10 total damage to everything around it. Pretty sweet spell. Into the Abyss. Look at this funny little guy. Submerge target minion or pull it into a void it's adjacent to. And in the void, a minion that doesn't have Void Walk is just going to be disabled, floating around in space, which is a bad time. Call to the Sea. The Sea's elite magic beckons its home minions adjacent to target water site step towards it. They then submerge all minions there. And this is the cool thing about like Sorcery's 3D Battlefield. Again, you know, if you're new, if you're old to this channel, then you know all these things already. But new players who haven't seen Sorcery, it's important to get your mind into the flavorful world of like you're building a realm. You're building rivers and streams and bodies of water, and sometimes you're burrowing underground or flying through the air. And those things matter. So if a creature that doesn't or can't swim gets sucked into the water and submerged, well, you kind of know what happens to them, right? They get to hang out with these fat frogs. You pay 1 to summon a frog token here. Croaking Swamp is a really cool land. It gives you a body immediately. So these are the site cards. The site cards have a different thing on the back than the regular cards do. These are Spellbook. These are Atlas. There's 2 separate decks in Sorcery. They always stay differentiated unless you're playing one particular avatar, which we don't have in this set. But there is one avatar that allows you to combine them. Algae Bloom. These are cool lands. They give you extra additional threshold, which you need to cast your spells for 1 time. Genesis ability. This Genesis ability breaks wards. Dark Alley. First minion that enters here gains stealth. Of course, goes into the path. So this is one of the lands that's really powerful, and it produces 2 thresholds. So this will help with some of those expensive water threshold cards we saw. Den of Evil. Genesis. The next turn, the next evil cast to the site costs 1 less, ignoring its threshold, which can be helpful. Genesis. Deal 1 damage to each minion at target site in this body of water, which can be really powerful. A body of water is all connected water sites. So if you played this way down here in the realm, it could actually deal damage to creatures along the way up here, which is a pretty far-reaching and powerful sort of effect. Stream, just an ordinary little water site, but pretty, beautiful art. An Aspire, an ordinary or common air site. So air sites, you'll notice, are often towers, mountaintops. We're not just floating in the air. Sometimes there's like a cloud city or something, but a lot of times it's the places that humans or monsters or whatever build that reach towards the heavens. It's a flavorful feeling of like, well, that's where you can tap into the power of the sky. Elder Ruins, sweet. Here's a real Lovecraftian card. Sacrifice a minion here, cast a Shoggoth submerged from your collection, which is again that 10-card sideboard. And then a Peculiar Port. For 2 water, which you can kind of see down there in the corner maybe, Genesis, you may cast a Horrible Hybrids from your collection to this site. This is a bad time that's going on in this town. It is taken over. Or maybe the town just exists as a Peculiar Port for all the little frog people of the world. Either way, and so I don't remember if I answered this or not, but I think some people ask if I can like sleeve all of these cards, take this styrofoam insert out, sleeve these cards and fit them back in the box. And what I've heard is you can do that with penny sleeves. So like the thicker sort of more Dragon Shield or whatever kind of brand sleeve you can't do that with. But if you get just penny sleeves and use these as a fun little just precon collection that isn't, it's not insanely valuable or anything, then you can indeed fit them all in here. And that's a way to kind of protect them as well. So we dawdled a bit on that one. I don't know how long this video is, but again, we're slower. We're going for new players. If you've tried Sorcery or haven't tried Sorcery, tell me your thoughts. Ask questions below. I'm more than happy to answer. I will say the Sorcery community has been excellent and kind of just chiming in, giving helpful advice to people. I think everybody in the Sorcery community wants this game to grow, and it's seeing growth right now. So a lot of new people are playing, and heck, I'm even new to this game in the scope of things. Necromancer. Necromancer is very powerful. It is an avatar that sees a lot of competitive play, and that's because once on your turn, you may pay 1 to summon a skeleton token here. So it just gives you bodies to mess with, to do with as you wish for just a little extra added benefit. You could perhaps sacrifice a body to a bone spear, sacrifice an undead, shoot a projectile from its location, remember in a cardinal direction, that deals 3 damage. It's very Diablo-esque, and they give you 3 of those in this deck. Here's an incredible card they give you. This is a unique undead dragon. Airborne, tap, deal 3 damage to each other unit at target nearby location. Summon a skeleton token there for each unit that died. So this thing's just making new skeletons. The Draconian Bone Kite. Bone Jumble, really funny looking little dude. Exceptional undead, hastily cobbled, obviously. Charge means haste. Charge is the haste ability of sorcery. Everything has summoning sickness until the end of your turn, but not until the end of your opponent's turn, which does matter because you can play a minion, and then on your opponent's turn, that minion you cast the turn before can defend, which in Magic, summoning sickness, quote unquote, usually ends on your next turn in case of tap abilities or something like that. But in Sorcery, it only lasts half of that time, which is important distinction for folks coming from Magic. Foul Bones, little sacrifice a skeleton token, summon Foul Bones from your cemetery there. So this deck's going to really feed into that Necromancer ability. Here's another Braum art. Braum's just rocking out. This is how Braum is after he gets out the shower. Genesis, if an ally died last turn, may teleport to the killer to strike it. So they'll use flavorful terms like this, but you can kind of grok it. You can kind of understand it. If an ally died last turn, well, guess what? This bitter departed may just enter the battlefield, teleport to the killer, and just, get its bitter revenge. Ignited, charge, dies at the end of your turn. They're on fire and they're running at you, which is scary. Novice Necromancer. I want to make skeletons too. It's a spellcaster. It can summon a single skeleton. So keep working at it, buddy. You'll get there. Noxious Corpse. Lethal. Lethal is like the death touch ability of sorcery. It means that you can kind of take out anything. Nothing wants to get close to this thing because look at that art. Good job, Drew Tucker. Kamasin Mummy. It's a fire threshold. That's the symbol there. If you can not guess by the coloration of the cards. Burrowing. And whenever this unburrows, you may trigger the genesis of a nearby desert. So I'm guessing there's going to be desert abilities Deserts usually do damage to the things that walk through them very flavorfully. So this can trigger that happening again. Screamers, horrifying creatures. This is on the front of the Gothic packs. Tap target adjacent enemy minion and make it step away. We have that card that made it tap and step forward towards us, the Mesmer Demon. Well, this one, the Screamer, pushes them into the distance because no one wants to be around this guy. We have Snallygaster, which is a fun, it almost sounds like an Australian monster. Movement +1. Sorcery is big in the Pacific nations out there. I know there's a lot of New Zealanders who follow me, and I would love to go to New Zealand one day. Wouldn't that be epic? It's a beautiful country. Stygian Archers, really cool. Love the art. Exceptional undead with rot-fletched arrows. Ranged means it can tap to shoot a projectile that's equal to its power. Really powerful. And whenever Stygian Archers kill an enemy, summon a skeleton where it died. So this could be a really powerful line of defense for the old Necromancer there. Hot Wheel. Sorcery likes a good pun sometimes. This is not like the Hot Wheels you bought as a child if you're very old, like me. Genesis rolls forward 2 steps, striking another unit at each location it enters. It ain't just the same without the flame. Yeehaw. So Hot Wheel is like the one sort of country Western themed card in this dark Gothic set. And it's just rolling through the prairie on fire. Order of the Pale Worm, 3 power. Nearby sites and units lose ward abilities, which is powerful. Ward is something that basically protects against one attack and then disappears. It's like a shield that breaks. Dreadwing, airborne. Genesis strikes your avatar unless you discard a card. Don't love that. This thing will hit me for 4 unless I discard a card to cast it. So it's not, it's a 4/4 flyer, so that's good. But hitting me is bad. Don't like that. Vesper Swarm, also 4 flyer, doesn't hit me, I don't think. Once on your turn, may fly to a wounded minion. An exceptional monster paints the town red. So this swarm will just fly over to the wounded minions like vultures. Love it. Those Who Linger, this is a really cool sort of tri-form Japanese boss monster sort of card. The Dwindling Host of Exceptional Undead starts out as 4 power. Deathrite is the death ability. Summon a ghoul from your collection to the site, so it becomes a 3/3. And then that ghoul has Deathrite. Summon a skeleton token. So it keeps getting smaller, which is really funny. But it keeps going, keeps ticking. Master Necromancer, great card. It's a spellcaster, so unlike the Novice, this one summons a skeleton to each other adjacent site. So not the site it's on, but here, 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 and here. It will summon up to 4 skeletons if there are sites at those locations. Really powerful. Stitched Abomination has a star. We don't know what its power and toughness is. What is it? Genesis, banish up to 3 minions from 1 cemetery to stitch them together. This abomination has their combined power, but each part may be damaged and destroyed separately. It's kind of funny. So you can hit like its weird dragon arm off or something, and then it will make it less powerful. Flavorful, but you have to track that, which I don't love necessarily, but whatever. It's a casual game. Detonate. Witching Hour. Very beautiful art. Your evil, spellcaster, and spirit allies gain airborne and +1 power this turn. Anything that's sort of like an overrun effect in Magic, something that powers all the minions all at once. If you have a bunch of little tokens, whatever, you can swarm and attack and get the win. Kiss of Death, the art's incredible here. May be cast by spirits and the undead, so they don't have to be spellcasters. Kill target minion here. So imagine your skeleton runs across the battlefield. It kisses the enemy. Well, that was a mistake for them to accept that kiss. Carrionet, really cool card. I never owned one before. Exceptional magic of Stitch and String. Summon an undead minion from a cemetery to a nearby location. Very cool. Just the resurrection spell. These puns, they love the puns. Necromancer. Elite magic of posthumous performance. Each differently named undead and instrument draws undead and instrument. Instrument is a type. Nearby joins a band to play. Draw a spell for each different one. So you can have all your Snallygasters and skeletons and Khamasine mummies and whatever, all your undead come over. And then there is an instrument in this set that we're going to see right now, the Panpipes of Panam. So if you have Panpipes there, you'll draw an extra card. Damage caused by nearby units is increased to 2. Suffer the Whine of this elite instrument. So nearby is anything that's in the square around it. That means also diagonally. Normally adjacent is another keyword, but adjacent will be just the 4 cardinal directions. Nearby means anywhere in the square, even adjacent, even diagonal sites. Corpse Catapult, of course, you're going to have one of those. An elite weapon and a dead reckoner. Tap bearer and another ally here. Banish a dead minion. So they're operating the thing. Deal damage equal to the banished minion's power to each unit at a target location up to 3 steps away, which is a pretty powerful catapult. Now for our sites. Great sites, Open Mausoleum, summon skeletons with these things. Super sweet. They make air threshold. Twilight Bloom, again, these produce additional threshold for colors or elements that it is not. And the art is stunning. The bloom art is magnificent. It's some of the best. Accursed Desert, Genesis break nearby wards. This also breaks wards, but for air. Den of Evil, we're summoning evil minions cheaper. Dread Thicket's a new one, and really cool kind of art. Love the color. The first attack out of the site each turn can't be defended. So something runs out of the bushes, and the other person cannot defend it. Very cool and flavorful. You want to play that towards your front line, I would imagine, so you can kind of make these ambush attacks. There's the deserts. They all deal 1 damage to each minion atop nearby site, nearby being anywhere around them. So triggering them is pretty cool, because you can take out little small guys that way, or add that damage to a bigger assault and maybe take out a bigger minion with a little guy plus a desert. Wasteland, just an ordinary little site. A sold out cemetery. This elite site accepts no new customers. Whenever undead enter the site, push another undead 1 step away. It's oversold. So you want to keep your cemetery, keep it moving. You got traffic, you got visitors. It's like the Beetlejuice waiting room. Forsaken Crypt, 2 air threshold Genesis. You may cast a ghoul from your collection to this site. Ghouls typically cost 3, but for 2 air threshold, you're kind of getting a discount if you play this land, which is pretty cool. Darkest Dungeon, a unique site where darkness holds dominion. Genesis, the next time an ally strikes an avatar this turn, drag both here if able. It's kind of cool. You can like lock up your opponent. So that was the Necromancer set. Alrighty, well, let's look into the next 2 decks. I'm trying to go through this a little quicker. And we have Persecutor up next. This appears to be a fire element deck. Who knows if there's some extra elements in there. A lot of these have been 2 colors already, so let's dive in. All right, so the avatar for this is Persecutor. Persecutor says, once on your turn, Persecutor may step toward the closest evil or brand an enemy, so your cards treat them as evil this turn. That can be fairly interesting. Also has 2 power of note, so could be a more aggressive sort of avatar. And of course, we're going to have things like this spell, Bind Evil. Disable target evil minion until an adjacent spellcaster taps to release it. Shackled Demon. Disable an adjacent spellcaster, taps to release him. So he's bound evil. Angry Mob is a funny card. Again, dealing with that rarity. Kill target adjacent, unique, or elite minion. Pretty funny. Flagellant. Whenever Flagellant takes damage, you heal 1. You can do maybe some little combos with that. If you have some 1-mana pingers, maybe like a Colicky Dragonettes or something like that. 1-shot Wizard. Shoot a projectile that deals 1 damage or gain spellcaster this turn. So you could, on Genesis, hit your Flagellant and gain a life. A little interesting little small combo there. Flaming Skulls, Airborne. Flame is a spellcaster. Okay, so we have Earth in this as well. We have Earth spells, so Holy Warrior, Ward, Kissers of Wounds, allows you to heal. Then we have Blood Demons. Genesis, losing 2 life. So this is an interesting deck. We're like gaining and losing life the whole time. Banish up to 3 cards from cemeteries. If there are any demons, this becomes 1 and gains +2 power permanently. Interesting, very meta card. But in these precons, it seems like it's going to work out well. There's plenty of demons around. Wild Fanatics have charge. Intrepid Hero is lethal to evil. Pretty solid card in association with your Persecutor there. Martyrs of Tomorrow. Ward an allied minion. Mazuj Efreet. Airborne. At the start of your turn, you lose 2 life. Interesting. 3 mana, but 4 power, but you will lose life by playing it. And in reverse, 4 mana, 3 power, airborne. Nearby allied demons have +1 power. I wonder if Demon is a deck in now that Gothic's here, if you can have a Demon deck. Flare, ordinary demon rebels in rending, deals 1 damage to each other nearby unit. So that's good with those flagellants. And that's an interesting little combo. It's like you're kind of doing your own game. You're not really like advancing your board by hitting your flagellants, but you are healing a lot. So if you could find a reason to spend a ton of life, or if there's a card that allows you to spend a lot of life, having a sort of strategy where you do that and then just heal it all back up with flagellant hits may be interesting to look into. Genesis, you lose 4 life. Okay, so this is one reason you have to. There's undercosted demons, but they ping you for a ton of life. So that's the simple reason why they're using this. Ward, airborne while warded. Airborne ward, shoots a projectile, deals 4 damage. Undesirables, burrowing. Allies can't enter this site. I do love that art. Again, it's that Dan Seagrave, man. It really just does something for me. Trial by fire, may be cast by any ally, deals 3 damage to target nearby minion. Flame strike, we've got Gandalf here burning down the little imps. Choose a cardinal direction, and it fires this sort of T-shape fireball. Lash, deals 1 damage to target nearby minion and untap it. So with the flagellant, it can lash itself. That's very, very fitting. Sadomasochistic deck. Wreath in Righteousness. Ward all minions of target location, then deal damage to minions at affected locations. Fascinating. So it's weird, but it only does 2. So and that makes it feel a little less useful. You're warding all the minions, and then you're dealing damage to minions at affected locations, which nullifies the ward, so it protects them. But then you're just dealing 2 damage. So the likelihood that you're only facing 2 damage minions is pretty low. All right, here's a unique in this set. We got Blaze of Glory for 3 mana, and ally fights each enemy near it 1 at a time. It doesn't die until it's done. Pretty sweet card. Pretty sweet card. We've got Release the Hounds, another elite, and this lets you summon 2 Hellhounds from your collection. So you'll get, and they get charge. So you get 2 3/3s with charge, which is pretty solid. Holy Water, sacrifice this holy water, throw a projectile. If it hits a minion, banish it if evil. That's pretty solid with your avatar here. Blade of Thorns has +3 power and can't drop this weapon, but its controller loses 2 life at the end of the turn. Peacemaker Harvest. This is a really funny weapon. An elite weapon with an urge to purge. Bear has ranged, and its strikes deal 1 more damage to units for each of the following that they are: evil, okay, artifact bearers, spellcasters, voidwalkers, submergers, burrowers, and frogs. I hate that he's just taking it out on the frogs here. The Persecutor is just having a good old time. We got vast deserts, we got autumn blooms, we got these blessed villages that give us ward. Hillside chapels, pay 1 and tap to give a ward to a nearby minion. Consecrated ground, evil has no power here. Active volcano, sweet to have those like double mana cards in here sometimes. And then we have these just ordinary sites. These are called draft sites oftentimes. I've only seen them in these precons though. It's interesting. They don't have these in packs from what I remember. Like I don't remember opening these in the Gothic box. Then we have Road to Perdition, really neat site. Target nearby evil gains or loses 1 power this turn. It's good in Persecutor. And then a unique site, Purgatory. So that's cool. Whenever an evil minion dies nearby, its controller loses 1 life. So that's neat. And then this fetches your hounds again. So you get more hounds with the Molten Mar. It's an exceptional site, so you can run 3 if you're upgrading this deck. Overall, kind of neat, flavorful, very, dare if I say, Catholic, sort of old world Catholic, Inquisition sort of deck. And maybe that's what they're going for with this, since it is sort of Gothic. You know, we're going harkening back to an age when everything wasn't great. But yeah, a lot of bloodletting and blood taking. So put that back in there. And the last one, we'll go with Savior, the bright shining end to this whole Gothic Precon exploration. Okay, let's look at Savior. What does Savior do? Savior says, tap, player draw a sight, 1, ward a minion that was summoned this turn. So for 1 extra, you can give them ward, which makes them really tough to beat. It's a pretty good ability. You can make even weak minions useful fodder, like Elfin Townsfolk. By having them warded, they can take 2 hits on defense versus just 1. Got Night Watchman, ward this site. Makeshift barricade. If 1 or more allies would take damage, prevent it. If the damage was 3 or more, the barricade breaks. Okay, so we're just like, I envision a town, and the town is trying to survive, and the old Savior here is just warding things, putting up barricades. Ward an allied minion until your next turn it takes damage for its nearby allies instead. Okay, and now we get a sweet unique. That's what I like about some of these precons. They give you these interesting uniques. This is a card I've never pulled in a box. Golden Dawn for 7 mana and 4 Earth Threshold. Unique magic, Hope in the Darkest Hour. Deal out your top spells, 1 to each site in your back row. Summon any that are minions and put the rest on the bottom of your spellbook. If you're on death's door, they gain charge. What a cool, flavorful style effect. That's really neat. So we've got Malakim, an airborne angel with ward. At the end of your turn, you untap it. So it gets to move and untap for defense. That's pretty solid. I love this art for the town priest. 1 mana, 1/1. Genesis, return target adjacent evil minion to its owner's hand. Yeah, it's really cool art. We've got 2 Virgin Prayers, which are just to ward an allied minion, but really pretty art. 2 Revered Revenants, has 0 power unless adjacent to an allied ward. And an Angel Ascendant, an elite mortals. Faith unfurls, has airborne and +1 power while warded. So if you pay this for 3, it becomes a 3/3 airborne warded creature with your avatar here, which is pretty solid, pretty solid rate. We've got Muddy Pigs. These gain us life on death because of all that bacon. We got the Mayor of Milborn, an elite mortal, keeps the town together. Other nearby mortals have +1 power. I love that. Order of the White Wing, ward. If a minion would be summoned nearby and it wasn't cast from hand, banish it. Then we've got Guardian Angel, one of my funnier cards coming up. Guardian Angel says airborne Genesis, fly to a weaker allied minion to ward it. That's pretty neat because you could go a long distance that way. Rowdy Boys. Rowdy Boys is just a funny card, and it's a funny art. Untaps after striking the undead. Great. Then we've got 3 search parties. Has +1 power for each search party in your cemetery. So the search party will get bigger and bigger the more that you have. I wanted to build like a discard deck for a while. There is a red card that says instead of paying its cost, you can discard a card out of your hand at random. And there are cemetery rats, which I believe discard the top 2 cards of your deck into your yard. And so you don't know what those things are. But my guess being you just play a lot of cards like Murder of Crows or some other things that like don't mind being in the cemetery. And or you can play like the one that Death Speaker, the one that raises cards from the cemetery. I don't know. It's an interesting deck. It's a real Reanimator style strategy. I'm still working out the kinks, but we'll talk about it in a future video. Monks of Kolbasa. Can't be modified except by wards. 4/4 for 4. I mean, they're like Grizzly Bears, but worse? I don't know. Weathered Trunks, 4 for 4. Must be cast to an allied site occupied by an enemy. And then we've got this scary looking picture. Faith Incarnate has +2 power for each ward in the realm. This is an elite spirit, so you could play 2 if you were to adjust this deck. And there's a lot of wards out there, right? You have wards that you can play on lands. It doesn't have to be just warded creatures, which are a little more fragile. So that thing could be pretty large for just 5 mana. You only need 3 wards to make it a 6/6, which makes it actually useful at that rate. And I don't think that's that hard. That might be something to look into. Flame of the First Ones. Whenever the flame stops at a new site, you heal 1 and your opponent loses 1 life. So pretty cool. for 2 mana, you get this unique relic, and you just carry it around, and whenever it stops at a new place, you gain 1 life, and they lose a life. It's kind of cool for an exploring deck. I love that. Wave of Eviction, exceptional magic in an allied water site, overflows in a cardinal direction, flooding sites there this turn and carrying away enemies 1 step at a time. Baptize, ward each allied minion at target water site. Divine Lance, elite magic, as above, so below. Deal 1 damage to each minion at target site. You may break any number of allied wards to increase the damage by 1 for each. Fascinating. Of course, we've got some Holy Roll and stuff. We've got the Holy Nova here. We've got the area effect down there. Deals damage to each enemy at affected locations. You may break an allied ward to center this spell on that location instead of the casters. So that's cool. You can cast it far away as long as you've got a warded allied minion. Smite, maybe cast on any ally, by any ally, strike target adjacent enemy. If it's evil, banish it, just straight up. All right. And so some of the lands are pretty cool. The Troubled Town allows you to get any townsfolk from your collection to this site. So that's kind of neat. It doesn't produce a particular type of threshold though, so that can be a little rough. These are the lands I was talking about, so you can ward these lands, these Blessed Villages, and they're commons, so you could run 4. Blessed Well, very similar, has ward on it. So, yeah, there's some blooms. Consecrated Ground, evil has no power here. I think that is actually literal. In the game, it sounds like a flavor line, but I'm pretty certain if you have an evil minion, it goes here and it has no power. Pretty certain. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. Fertile Earth, great card, double earth mana. Mudslide, a stream, and then we get our basic sort of draft lands, the valleys. I mean, these are beautiful lands. For not doing much other than producing a single mana, they are very pretty. And then we get our Forlorn Keep, which allows us to access our collection to get a Penitent Knight, another 3/3. I think they're all 3/3s. They're just different color, different variations, but they're all kind of the same. So, well, that is it for our Gothic Precon box look. I hope that you enjoyed kind of going through this. And as a new player, if you have questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. A lot of people here have been really awesome about answering questions in this little small community we're building. So I don't anticipate anything different happening this time. And yeah, hope to see you in the realm in the future. Have a good day.